Hi, Gary Stearman, coming to you from Prophecy Watchers, and I'm in studio today with Bob Ulrich. We've got a lot to share. Bob and I talk about a lot, and from time to time, we sort of pull our thoughts together and share them with you. Bob, it's going to be a great program.
It is. Actually, if you've been here for the last hour, you would have heard some really fascinating conversations about myriads of things going on in the world and in our lives. Gary just celebrated a birthday, and I have a gift for Gary that's sitting here in this little box on the table, and Gary's not seen it yet. It's, what do you get the guy who needs nothing? You have every book in your library ever written on Bible prophecy. I gave you a Bible last year, and trying to find a birthday present for Gary is just not easy. But I found something in Israel that I brought back that, believe me, you're going to want to stick around to the end of this program when I take this out and give it to him. It's probably going to make you laugh a little bit, but it's something that everyone who has seen it, and that's just a handful of people, have just looked at me in amazement and said, "Where did you get that?"
Well, I hope it makes me laugh a little bit.
Well, it absolutely will. You know, with me, there's always a risk involved, so I'm hoping that it makes you laugh and you can join in the birthday celebration. I got a letter via email from a guy the other day that really left me with a hollow feeling. It actually made me very sad, and I want to read the letter to you. Gary, you've talked in the past recently about prophetic burnout. It's very real, isn't it?
Absolutely. You see it everywhere.
You know, we've seen a lot of dates come and go. I mean, date setting has become almost the norm, and we've had all these events that were supposed to happen. They never happen. They come and they go. There's another date and another date, and who can blame Christians for being discouraged? When I read this letter, I just thought to myself, well, I feel bad for the guy. And I actually responded to him. He responded very kindly to me. And basically, you know, he agreed to pray for me, and I agreed to pray for him.
But Bob, the wording in that letter is what struck me. You can tell there's emotion behind it. There is a belief system. The man is secure in his faith. But he's just been watching and nothing has happened.
Well, his comments were in response to a program that you shot recently with Billy Crone on the seals of Revelation. And there's so much confusion about the tribulation period and so many areas of disagreement. How long the tribulation is the church going to see the Antichrist? The first 3.5 years, some people actually think is all peace and tranquility, when as many as 2 billion people actually die in the first half of the tribulation.
Yeah.
Billy did this series on the rapture of the church and on the seals, and he literally, you know, told us that it moved him to tears. It was so upsetting when he actually realized just how bad the tribulation was. So this gentleman's responding to that program with Billy Crone, and he says, yeah, okay, I'm sorry, but I've heard this all before. I was really in eschatology and the rapture back in the mid-'80s. The latest prophecy people back then had me convinced beyond the shadow of a doubt that the rapture was just around the corner. I was a big fan of Peter and Paul Lalonde and their weekly show called This Week in Bible Prophecy. I was so excited back then about the prospect of being magically whisked away at the return of Jesus. And we waited and waited and waited. Oh, but hang on there, church. It's so close. And we waited some more. Blah, blah, blah. One guy even stated, we're so close to the rapture, we're pushing up against the membrane of the tribulation. This was in the 80s, and we waited. I made a fool of myself trying to convince friends and strangers alike about this rapture event. Hal Lindsey, Jack Van Impe, Dave Hunt, etc. I was a voracious reader of all things end times. I watched all the shows I could. I ordered many of the videos. I'm sorry, but I'm done with all this end times talk. I have a life to get on with. I wish I could have all those wasted years back that I spent looking up. But I know what you'll all say. My response here is fulfilling prophecy, as I'm a part of the great falling away. Whatever, have a nice day, but remember, keep looking up. Jesus' rapture is so close. It could even happen before I finish this sentence. Yeah. Well, how do you like that, Gary?
Well, I like it because it's honest. The man is very honest in his self-reporting, if you will. He recounts the events of his life. I go back It seems like yesterday when the late great Planet Earth was published, 1970. Hal Lindsey, just on the heels of the Israeli army having retaken the Temple Mount and all the excitement, 1967 and then 1970, Hal's book, which set the world on fire, the Bible-believing world on fire, because everybody was saying it's here. All of the prophetic items that are listed in the Bible are in order. It could happen right now. And I remember what this gentleman is talking about. I've seen dozens of people with his precise reaction to that whole thing.
And of course, we had the book in 1988, 40 years after the anniversary of Israel's birth or rebirth. 88 Reasons Why the Rapture Will Happen in 1988.
Right.
Followed by the sequel, 89 Reasons Why the Rapture Will Happen in 1989. So we look back on all these date-setting schemes and we kind of have to chuckle a little bit. Good intention, people.
I have a friend who's a very devout Christian, and he speaks of his own emotion in the matter. He calls it PRD, pre-rapture dysfunction. He's been waiting for the rapture so long, and he's got his hopes up, and then, it doesn't happen. And I think we all go through that, and we'll talk about this a bit later, because I deal with this directly, as does Bob. The people who watch Prophecy Watchers are on the edge of their chairs, and you can't stay on the edge of your chair forever, Bob. You have to kind of lean back every now and then and regroup.
I plead guilty as well. I mean, there have been dates where I sat there thinking, today is the day.
Right.
Pentecost or Rosh Hashanah, certain dates that you think, make some degree of sense on the surface. Those days come and go, and it's easy to get discouraged. We get a lot of comments, we get a lot of questions, we get a lot of criticism over just myriads of different issues we discuss here. We don't have time to respond to every single individual like we would like to. If you go to our Facebook page, a whole bunch of people actually take the time to try to respond to some of those things. So Gary and I have decided that we're going to create a new weekly television program, and it's called Comments, Questions, and Criticisms. And during that weekly program, we're going to take your feedback. If you have a question for us, go to the Prophecy Watchers webpage to the contact, send us the question. We'll do our best to answer as many of these as we can on the program. We'll read some of the good comments, we'll read some of the questions, and then we'll read some of the hate mail, that we get on a regular basis.
Absolutely, and we do get hate mail. Think about comments, questions, and criticisms. Comment is when you watch what we're doing and you write to us. You say, I'd like to comment on what you said. A question is a little deeper. I heard you say something I didn't understand, and I'd like for you to clarify it. That's the second level. Third level, criticism. And we get a few of those, Bob, in which somebody writes and says, I deeply disagree with what you said, and here's why. And so we get three levels of interaction.
That's one of the gentler responses, yeah.
It is.
Don't tell anybody this, but we actually keep a hall of shame, where we print out these letters, and sometimes we look at them in utter disbelief. The truth is, the ignorance in the Christian community today is at an all-time high. And what we're really trying to do here is, for one, make you understand that we do care about your questions and your comments. We'd like to answer every single one of them. We're hoping that this weekly program enables us to take some of the objections and the criticisms, which honestly are all the same. Can't you see that the rapture is in Matthew 24? Don't you know that the Antichrist is going to show up before the church is raptured? I mean, all these common objections come in over and over and over again. You can't take the time to respond to them individually. Hopefully this weekly program will solve that.
This gentleman whose letter you just read, you've had a little interaction with him. You answered his letter, by the way, which I think is very thoughtful of you. And he wrote back to you and in a way that was very responsive and, by the way, very courteous. Which is good. I like that kind of interaction.
It was a spiritually mature response, and I think he felt genuinely bad. It was someone who really, really cared deeply about Bible prophecy at one time and has lost that love. So how do you get that love back for Bible prophecy?
Well, I call it the art of watchful waiting. And there really is an art to it. It goes all the way back to the first century. The Apostle John, who was the last of the apostles to die, according to the early church fathers, was constantly besieged. By the way, he was the bishop of Ephesus, and he preached into his 90s. And so flocks of people would come, and they all wanted to know, when's the Lord returning? Because we know that anecdote about you down there by the Sea of Galilee with Jesus, and he said, you know, this man might even live to see my return. And rumors get started, and people flock to John. And John is reputed to have answered their questions about the rapture or the resurrection by saying, little children, continue as you are, or alternatively, he would say, little children, love one another. Now, what a terrific way to answer a question. Somebody asks you about Bible prophecy. Little children, love one another. And you know, that's what it's all about.
That sounds like something you would say.
Well, it would be quoting John if I did. But the point is, what is the goal of Christendom? That is, while you're still living, what should your Christianity be? It should be loving one another.
Amen.
And in the process of loving one another, you share your enthusiasm about prophecy, and you share your enthusiasm about the fact that Jesus could come at any moment, and then you say, but in the sphere of Christian love, we're going to continue on. And there is an art to keeping a level, balanced approach and not saying, well, I don't even think there's going to be a pre-trib rapture. I think we're going to go halfway through the tribulation. That's what I call giving up, you know. And we're not supposed to give up. We're supposed to love one another. That's what John said. And continue as you are. In other words, keep studying, keep praying, maintain the faith, share the faith, and love one another. But what if I want to go right now? I want the rapture to happen like tonight, okay? Well, so do I, Bob.
Likewise. You know, I've been embedded in the world of Bible prophecy for about 30 years.
Yeah.
Actually, 25 years in the ministry with Gary. And, you know, there was a time where, you know, I had every prophecy book ever written. You know, J. Dwight Pentecost, the Lalonde brothers, Hal Lindsey, Tim LaHaye. You know, I had everything that you could buy in a bookstore. Back when there actually weren't that many prophecy books being written.
Yeah.
You know, you're going back 25 years. It's changed today. And I can remember, you know, being consumed by the latest prophecy book to the point where my former business partner used to get really annoyed with me that all I seemed to care about was reading these prophecy books. And today, I don't have the time that I had 25 years ago to spend 6 or 8 hours a day reading prophecy books. And in some ways, it makes me kind of sad because, you know, when you commit yourself to the Word of God, when you study and read these books, you know, it kind of creates a whole different aura in your mind, you know, where that's the focus of,
right.
you know, your daily living. They say the things you think about the most are the things most important to you. And there was a time where that was my whole focus, and all I read was prophecy books. Well, I still read them, but I read them now because I have to. And I don't read them as much for being blessed. Sad to say, I have to find problems in them and theological issues that we don't want to share with other people.
You know, there's a phrase in the Bible that rings in my head, and it's ringing extra loud right now. It is, as you see the day approaching.
Encourage one another.
Encourage one another. We do see the day approaching. And you might be saying, yeah, I've heard that all before. But we do. I can't name a date, but I see the day approaching, and so do you if you're honest. You know, Jan Markell visited the Prophecy Watchers studio a few days ago, and she has written a few thoughts on this matter, and she's even got a name for this condition that we're discussing. She calls it late great burnout.
Classic.
Which I think is great.
Yeah.
And she recognizes that there is a conflict between getting overly excited and dropping back to the point where you have just given up. There's a balance point in between.
Well, I can name a date. It's October 12th, 2018. It's the date of the second annual Blessed Hope Prophecy Forum in Norman, Oklahoma. We're about halfway to our registration goal with about a little more than 3 months to go now. And we are going to have a prophetic party in Norman, Oklahoma. Well over 1,000, 1,200, 1,500, 2,000 people are going to gather at the Embassy Suites Hotel. We're going to have 32 speakers with us. The biggest names in the world of Bible prophecy, a lot of people you probably haven't heard of who may turn out to be the very best speakers at the conference with some of the provocative material that we're going to be talking about. A lot of you are registered already. Just here in the last couple weeks, we've seen an explosion in registrations, which is really encouraging. We haven't posted a schedule yet. We usually give the speakers plenty of time to choose their subjects. That probably will be finished in the next 2 to 4 weeks. But the subjects are starting to come in, and I've just literally jotted down a few of these. Steve Dill and Jack Langford are going to be talking about the history and fall of Lucifer. Mark Hitchcock's going to be talking about his new book, Can We Still Believe in the Rapture? Richard Shaw is going to be with us, going to be talking about secret messages in the Torah codes and literally some top secret archaeological expeditions that are taking place in Israel. Questions are going to be answered. Is the rapture found in Matthew 24? You're going to preach a sermon on the one missing piece of Ezekiel 38 that no one's talking about. And I know you don't want to talk about it.
And I don't want to talk about it. You're going to have to come to hear what I have to say. But let me just say this about it. There is a blatant indicator in Ezekiel 38 that speaks volumes about the fulfillment of that prophecy. And I've never seen anyone write on this particular subject. So I'm preparing a 1-hour presentation on this subject, and I think you'll be amazed when you hear it.
Now, you said you weren't going to talk about it, but you just talked about it.
Well, not really.
I know about it. Just a little bit about it.
A little bit.
You know, we're going to talk about what became of the dinosaur kingdom, which is one of the most fascinating subjects you could ever explore. We're going to discuss whether the church is going to face the Antichrist and whether the church is going to face part of the wrath of God. This is a big area of disagreement, among Christians today. We're going to talk about the anti-rapture ringleaders. Man, there's a group of men who are behind, basically, they have a desire to deny the pre-tribulation rapture.
Right.
They have an agenda, and we're going to talk about that.
And Bob, why wouldn't you want the pre-tribulation rapture to be a reality? The answer to that is fairly obvious. You don't believe that it is a reality. Because if you did, you'd join everybody else and you'd say, wow, this is super exciting.
Gary, I've noticed that it's a mindset that is
is
involved with that. When I think about, you wrote an article a long, long time ago that I'd love to see you, really talk about sometime about how you survive the tribulation. It was really kind of a tongue-in-cheek.
It was tongue-in-cheek, how to survive the tribulation.
About someone trying to go through the 7-year tribulation and the trials and things they would face and how utterly hopeless it is. The truth is, if you think that Jesus is coming at the end of the tribulation, which he certainly is, there won't be very many people alive at that point. Billions of people will be dead. The world will be in chaos. He's coming back to Israel to save the Jewish people. He's certainly not coming back from the church, because the church is gone. And so who are those people? Who are the armies of heaven that come back on white horses? We believe that's us.
Absolutely we do.
A few other subjects. We're going to talk about the age of the earth. And this is another subject that we've explored here in the last 6 months or so. Another controversial subject, but a subject that is deeply embedded in the scriptures in some places that most people don't really see.
And let me just say, concerning the age of the earth, we believe the earth is very, very old. The universe is very, very old. But we do not believe in evolution.
Amen.
In any way, shape, or form. It's simply an impossibility. God created everything, the heavens, the earth, all life on earth. He created the DNA spiral that is so complex that it can hardly be described mathematically. It couldn't have popped into existence by itself. It requires a creator God.
And you've done a lot of research on that over the years.
Yeah.
Now, I have this book by Steve Dill in the beginning. Steve is going to be with us at the conference, and we're going to be having a Young Earth, Old Earth forum where people are going to be able to come and ask every question known to man. For example, who committed the first sin, Gary?
Lucifer, of course. Or as he's called in Hebrew, Halel, which means the illuminated one.
But the Bible says that by one man sin entered the world. Lucifer's not a man.
Which world are we talking about?
Sorry to put you on the spot there. I knew you knew the answer.
The world system.
It's true, by one man sin did enter the world, and Adam was that man, but
That's
Lucifer was the one that brought the rebellion in the heavens.
And we're talking about a heavenly rebellion versus a worldly rebellion, but more about that later.
This is a book you have to read. I spent some time last night reading through Steve's description of Ezekiel 28 and the description of Lucifer in the Garden of Eden.
Right.
I mean, covered in precious jewels and gold, specifically equipped as the anointed cherub that covereth. And as I'm reading it and reading through Steve's logic, I'm just coming to the even further realization there's a lot more to the story in the Bible than we see.
And before his fall, he was the highest of all created beings. But the key word there is created. He was not self-manifesting. He was created by God, and God created him as the number one cherub, and he violated his calling.
You come to the conference October 12th through the 14th in Norman, and you're going to hear some things that you've never heard and never seen before in the Bible. Ryan Pitterson is going to be with us. Ryan is a new friend that we've met. He's a Columbia Law School graduate, and he's written a book called Judgment of the Nephilim, which many of you I know already have in your possession. There's an area of great controversy going on with the subject of the Nephilim, that we're right in the middle of, and we're kind of presenting both sides of the coin. You want to talk about that a little?
Well, after the flood, evil returned. Of course, everybody knows about Nimrod. And Nimrod created an empire, which became the Babylonian Empire. We've heard about Assyria and Babylon and Medo-Persia and Greece. And all of the evil empires that took place or that came to pass after the flood. But the question is, what empowered those empires? Because those people claim to have interaction with the fallen ones, the sons of God who actually fell. And furthermore, there were giants after the flood. How in the world did the giants get back on earth after they were destroyed in the flood? This is part of a very, very long and ongoing debate, and we're happy to present both sides of that right now.
And that'll be a fascinating debate. L.A. Marzulli will be part of that. You'll be part of it. Ryan will be part of it. We'll be talking about some areas of Scripture that are very, very curious and dark corners that I know people are curious about.
Absolutely.
Now, we got some other good news. And by the way, register for the conference today. Head over to prophecywatchers.com. Join the throng of people that are going to descend to Norman. If you've never been to a prophecy conference before, it's such a joyful experience. Last year was utterly amazing. The fellowship with other Christians who don't get to hear about prophecy in their church. You're going to meet people for the first time that, they're going to become lifelong friends. You're going to get to shake hands, with men like Tommy Ice, Gary Stearman, Andy Woods. I mean, guys that you see on our television program. The Lipkins are going to be here from Israel. Go look at the list of speakers that we've invited to the conference.
A scholarly group, to say the least. But here's the thing, and Bob and I have been talking about this. Why do people come to prophecy conferences? One reason. They want to fellowship and interact with like-minded believers. There's a kind of an immersion that takes place. When you come to a prophecy conference, you find yourself embedded in this swirl of activity and ideas and sharing ideas with other people from other parts of the country, even other parts of the world. And Bob, there's just nothing more exciting.
They are coming literally from all over the earth,
Right.
from every part of the country. And it's exciting to get to meet people. You see their names on Facebook and you shake their hands for the first time, and they're so excited to be there and to meet you, and we're just excited to meet them.
Absolutely.
Now, people in foreign countries, we've had a bit of a disappointment. It's been almost 4 years, Gary, since we've been in ministry. Starting this next Monday, we have finally gotten around to offering a digital version of our magazine. And I know that's going to make a lot of people awfully happy because international postage has just gotten so out of control. It's prohibitive for people in other countries to even get our magazine unless they just want to pay dearly for it. Effective Monday, you'll be able to go to the Prophecy Watchers website, head over to the bookstore, and you will actually see a digital subscription to the Prophecy Watcher for $20. And you'll be able to get that magazine sent to you via email every month for as long as you like. And we're excited about that. It's taken us a long time to finally pull that together. We're still working out some of the kinks, just a few more days, but check back Monday, and you'll actually be able to subscribe to the digital version of the Prophecy Watcher. Of course, many of you, get the actual print version, which is still my favorite. I don't particularly like reading magazines on a computer or an iPad or an iPhone.
But if that's all you've got, that's great.
Where's your iPhone?
I think I put it in my pocket.
You know what? We have had a staggering amount of people actually sign up for the Prophecy Watchers app. And when you sign up for the Prophecy Watchers app, you can actually get the first look at our weekly television program. On your phone, on your iPad, on your computer, wherever you want to watch it, you can watch Prophecy Watchers and our weekly program.
Lots of people love to have Prophecy Watchers available on their phone. It's just phenomenal. Push a couple of buttons and there you are.
Well, the world is changing. Gary and I just had this long conversation about kerosene stoves and killing your own chickens and all kinds of bizarre things.
Well, what Bob's talking about is that in a few decades, we have gone from rural electricity that being strung across the country where people formerly had only kerosene lanterns. We've gone all the way from that to artificial intelligence in our lifetimes, Bob. Is this not the last generation?
We are seeing things that you could never even imagine, stuff that's beyond science fiction. But we still don't have flying cars. I thought they'd been here by now.
I'm not sure I want flying cars because I'm afraid of what too many cars in the air would do to my flight path when I fly my airplane.
Anyway, the big moment has come. I've been teasing Gary about his birthday present. I was over in Israel with Ole Marzulli here a couple of months ago, and we were actually climbing around in the caves at Qumran.
Okay.
And a lot of the group went all the way up to Cave 4, which is actually where they found the Dead Sea Scrolls. Did you know you can hike up there? Can actually get to Cave 4.
You can hike up there, Bob.
I didn't make it. LA and I decided not to go any further. We were up pretty high. And so we left the group and we meandered around a corner. And, rumor has it that John the Baptist, once, hung around that area of Qumran. And we came around the corner, and lo and behold, we found a little pond, this beautiful little body of water. And I looked at L.A. and I said, I wonder if John the Baptist actually took a bath in here sometime. And he looked at me and he said, Bob, that wouldn't surprise me. Look at this. It's hidden away. So this has absolutely nothing to do with that. But it was an interesting adventure
going here.
So I found something that I guarantee you do not have. This is a one-of-a-kind gift, and I don't think there's anything like this. I've joked about this for years, and I've told people that I sure wish I could find this because this would just be an absolute perfect gift. I have the first official Gary Stearman bobblehead. Now, I'm presenting this as your birthday gift. This is Little Jewish Rabbi, and I have to tell you, the resemblance is uncanny. For the record, I found that.
The little Bob. This actually, I have to admit, Bob, the resemblance is uncanny.
I could put that in the bookstore, and I bet there'd be some people who'd like to have their own bobblehead, but I'm not going to do that. But I thought that would be a great addition next to your airplane, and maybe we'll take that out on the set of our new program.
The question about this, is he bobbing his head yes or no?
Well, happy birthday.
Thank you,
know.
Bob. Very thoughtful. Bob buys the most thoughtful gifts of anybody I've ever known, by the way. And I do appreciate it. This will take a very prominent place on my desk.
I was thinking we could have that on comments, questions, and criticisms.
Okay.
So-
Where he nods his head yes or no.
Works for me. Yeah.
Okay. Bob, what can I say? Except let's just round up our half hour here by again telling people about the upcoming conference, how they can be part of it.
Head over to prophecywatchers.com and click on the big banner. When you click on the banner, it'll open up a page of all the speakers, all the bios. You'll get to find out who all these people are. You'll get the dates of the conference. You'll get all the details about hotel rates. prophecywatchers.com, or call the phone number on your screen. You can register over the phone. We still have some meal tickets available. We're going to have 2 luncheons and a dinner with special speakers. You can still register for those. The hotel spaces are filling up quickly. We have 5 different hotels. You're going to want to be with us October 12th through 14th at the Embassy Suites in Norman, Oklahoma.
And be watching for comments, questions, and criticisms. Bob and I will lay out some very, very choice questions and address some issues. I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
Agreed.
I'm Gary Stearman. Thanks for joining us today at Prophecy Watchers. We'll see you very soon. By the way, keep watching. We are. Thanks for joining us on Prophecy Watchers. You can find us on the web at prophecywatchers.com, where you can sign up for our free email newsletter, or follow us at facebook.com/prophecywatchers. In the meantime, keep watching, everybody, and we'll see you soon.